the same verse is quoted by Prabhupada. And this introduction is written by Prabhupada also. And he says, thus the Lord says that even a merchant, a fallen woman, or a laborer, or even human beings in the lowest status of life can attain the supreme. One does not need highly developed intelligence. The point is that anyone who accepts the principle of Bhakti Yoga and accepts the Supreme Lord as the summum bonum of life, as the highest target, the ultimate goal, can approach the Lord in the spiritual sky. If one adopts the principles enunciated in Bhagavad Gita, he or she can make his or her life perfect and make a permanent solution to all the problems of life. This is the sum and substance of the entire Bhagavad Gita. So, this is written by Prabhupada. See? So regardless of how the verse is translated, in 932, the meaning of that verse is explained by Prabhupada in the purport. And in the purport to 932 also, Prabhupada says, it is clearly declared here by the Supreme Lord that in devotional service there is no distinction between lower and higher classes of people. In the material conception of life, there are such divisions, but for a person engaged in transcendental devotional service to the Lord, there are not. Everyone is eligible for the spiritual destination. That's there it is, right there. Everyone is eligible. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.4.18, it is stated that even the lowest, who are called chandalas, dog eaters, can be purified. So that's a verse from Bhagavatam 2.4.18. Can be purified by association with pure devotees. Therefore, devotional service and the guidance of a pure devotee are so strong that there is no discrimination between the lower and higher classes of men. Anyone can take to it. The most simple man, taking shelter of the pure devotee, can be purified by proper guidance. According to the different modes of material nature, men are classified in the mode of goodness, brahmanas, the mode of passion, kshatriyas or administrators, the mixed modes of passion and ignorance, vaishyas or merchants, and the mode of ignorance, sudras or workers. Those lower than them are called chandalas, and they are born in sinful families. Generally, the association of those born in sinful families is not accepted by the higher classes, but the process of devotional service is so strong that the pure devotee of the Supreme Lord can enable people of all lower classes to attain the highest perfection of life. This is possible only when one takes shelter of Krishna. As indicated here by the word vyapasritya, one has to take shelter completely of Krishna, then one can become much greater than great jnanis and yogis. So this is our philosophy. And regardless of the fact that other people may not be following this, they try and establish the Varnashram system in this age and so forth, but the Christians are following this. The Muslims are following this, and now you know why they're so successful in India. And they're very successful. So, Krishna consciousness can solve all the problems of life, whether it's in the West or in the East, the North or the South. So, we have to understand what our philosophy is. This Krishna consciousness is open for everyone. We don't discriminate on their birth or their gotra. But it requires, if they want to be elevated, they have to listen. They have to take instructions. They have to follow the same rules and regulations that everybody follows. I have to follow the same rules and regulations that everyone follows. There's no, let's say, special status. Oh, someone is a guru or sannyasi, they don't have to chant 16 rounds. No. They have to chant minimum 16 rounds and very good rounds and better, more than that. In other words, everybody, we are all students and we're all servants of Prabhupada and Krishna and Lord Chaitanya, so we have to follow rules and regulations strictly. So that was one thing that let's call it reaffirmed. I knew that before, but it became much clearer in my mind on this trip, especially seeing the state of Krishna consciousness in India. Well, Krishna consciousness is doing okay. It's doing fine. But the state of Vaishnavism in general in India is not that good. I mean, it's still there, thank God. And we hope that it stays there. But they are under, attack by the Christians especially. Every Divya Desham I went to, in the beginning of the town, there's a big cross and a steeple, right? And it's most prominent, even more prominent than the Divya Desham building. Right? And it depends where you go, but the ones I saw near Srirangam, it was like that. So there's something has happened in the last 30 years that has changed the dynamic of at least South India. And that's why with Veda Narayan Prabhu and others now we have this project, at least in Tamil Nadu, to reverse that. And they're having good success. I mean, it's in the beginning stages, but still he's having good success working with villages. Every village we went to had the cross and one or two churches in a small village. So they're not sleeping at the helm. Somebody else is sleeping at the helm, but they're not. They have a definite strategy to convert everyone. And it's going to require a big effort to stop that tide. But see, if you're hamstrung by this idea that you can only educate Brahmin kids, you can't educate other kids, it's a self-defeating point of view. Eventually, you'll be overwhelmed. And they're beginning to overwhelm. You go to Rameshwaram, there are at least 30 Christian churches, only 3 temples. And those temples can disappear also. There's no guarantee they're going to stay there. And this is not only in South India. You go to Bengal, and now you go to Andhra, and you go to different places, and tribal areas. Christians have become very, very prominent. And now, the new phenomenon is that Muslims are converting Christians to Islam. Yeah, once you give up your dharma, then the more the merrier, right? So, yeah, I think that it's really time that people wake up and see that there are no exclusivities when it comes to preaching. If you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. So we need more and more preachers. But there are. I mean, ISKCON is doing pretty well. Also, not on the same scale as the Christians, but at least they're there and they're doing something. Okay, so another thing I learned, which is very interesting, is I've been reading this book, Renunciation Through Knowledge, or Renunciation Through Wisdom, by Srila Prabhupada. It's an amazing book. And in this book, there are many, many wonderful points that Prabhupada made. He made this before. He wrote this book before he came to India, and it was translated in Bengali. It was written in Bengali and translated into Hindi, and then later on translated from Hindi into English. So, Prabhupada makes a huge number of significant points. One thing that I was very interested in is what's called Panchasuna. Panchasuna means 5 great sins that people commit unwittingly. And I've spoken about this a little bit, but now I want to emphasize it much more. That is, people commit sins when they do business, when they do home chores, like cooking, cleaning, things like that, just even breathing. They kill living entities by common human dealings. And they kill living entities and commit sins in political life and in administrative activities, right? When you drive a car, you kill hundreds and thousands of living entities just driving your car. From, let's say you live in Sammamish and you drive your car to the temple, you already killed many living entities. Now, if you're driving your car to serve Krishna, then Krishna will protect you. Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam saranam aham tvam sarvapapyabhyo mokshishyami. So he'll liberate you from all that killing. But if you're driving your car for sense gratification, then you become responsible for all that killing. And it's not only just driving a car. It's walking, it's breathing, it's cooking, it's cleaning, it's vacuuming the carpet or the rug, and also it is, when you're doing business, and when you're managing things, and so forth. So this is why bad things happen to good people, because we are all unwittingly killing living entities, and we're responsible for it. Except if everything we're doing is for Krishna's service, then Krishna protects us. If only some things that we do is for Krishna's service, then we're getting, for those other things that we do, the reaction. And if we're not doing anything for Krishna, then you get the full reaction. So, Prabhupada explains here, one may succeed in avoiding many kinds of sin, but it is impossible to escape committing the 5 great sins called Panchasuna. While walking on the street, we may crush many ants to death against our wishes. While cleaning the house, we may squash many insects to death. While grinding food grains or lighting a fire, we destroy many tiny lives. In this way, while executing our ordinary daily chores, we are forced to commit violence and take many innocent lives. Willingly or unwillingly, we commit sins. Thus, when a religion fabricated by the human brain prompts one to embrace the path of nonviolence for its own sake, it inevitably gives advantage to one and difficulty to another. So, this little shocking statement at the end of this paragraph, Prabhupada says, if you believe in nonviolence like Gandhi, then you give advantage to one and difficulty for another. So because he practiced nonviolence, so many Hindus got killed. So, and even when they were being killed, he went and he didn't, call the army to stop it. He went there and tried to, he fasted and said, I'm going to fast to death unless you stop fighting. So after the Muslims killed enough Hindus, then they stopped. Paid some, but they didn't stop right away. Right. So that's why he says you can give advantage to one and difficulty to another. So we can't manufacture our own process of devotionals, of service, or of religion. We have to follow what Krishna says. So Prabhupada gives in his early lectures, he was explaining that a Vaishnava can also be a fighter, like Arjuna. He said Vaishnavas are not cowards. He said they will do everything to avoid a fight. But if you're in a situation like you're dealing with someone like Duryodhana, who wants to fight, and you try everything and there's no way of solving the problem, then you have to fight. He said Vaishnavas are not cowards. When they have to fight, they will fight. Right? But one should try everything to avoid it. So, Prabhupada says, it is impossible to be exempted from the adversities caused by mentally concocted beliefs. According to man-made laws, if one person murders another, he is condemned to the gallows, meaning he has to be hung and to death. But no action is taken against a man for killing animals. Such is not the law of providence or the law of God. The law of God is such that it punishes the killers of both man and animals. Both acts of murder are penalized. The atheists deny the existence of God because in this way they think they can commit sins unhindered. But all the revealed authorized scriptures say that by killing innocent creatures, the householders commit many sins willingly or unwillingly while performing their normal daily activities. To get release from these sins, the householders are enjoined to perform certain sacrifices. Foremost of these is to eat and honor the remnants of food offered to Lord Vishnu or Krishna. As for those selfish householders who cook food only for their own sensual pleasure and not for the service of Lord Vishnu, they have to suffer all the sinful reactions incurred while cooking and eating. This is the law of providence, meaning law of nature, of God also. Therefore, to get rid of these sins, the followers of the Vedic religion dedicate their household activities to Lord Vishnu's service. The leaders of society are therefore advised to perform devotional service for Lord Vishnu's satisfaction, both for their own benefit and for the benefit of those they lead. As Lord Krishna says to Shri Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita 3:21, whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So, Trump came to India. And they had a big program in Gujarat. In their, what is it? What? Ahmedabad. It's Gujarat. Yeah. In the new stadium there holds 110,000. They had 115,000 people. And it's, is it the Subhash Chandra Bose Stadium? Oh, Sardar Patel. Yeah, Sardar Patel. Yeah. Okay, so... but Trump, there's articles how he's having trouble eating in India because they try and give him vegetarian food and he wants the meat. Give me the meat, don't give me vegetables. So, whatever a great man does, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets become the standards of society. So Trump is not a good leader in that sense because he's giving a bad example to the people. People think, oh, if I eat meat like Trump, then I can become like Trump. You know. Well, see, and because of that, he's going to suffer terribly. And we can see how Krishna is the supreme controller. Like China is such a powerful country, but now the leader of China has told the people, become vegetarian immediately. Why? Because they're eating bats and snakes and lizards and cockroaches. And every generation there's a new virus that comes out that kills hundreds and thousands of people. You know, it's not the coronavirus, it's the coronavirus. So the virus is not karuna, that's not merciful. It's killing people. So we need to understand how everything we do, if we do it only for Krishna, then we'll be free from all that killing. But if we do not do things for Krishna, then we're going to be killing a lot of living entities and we're responsible for it. Just like one time, one of our pujaris was driving a temple car and he had a terrible accident. So when we went to see him, I asked him, I said, where were you going with the car? He said, oh, I was doing something. Oh, what was that something? Oh, I was just going somewhere in Seattle. I said, where were you going? So I was going to see someone. I said, what were you going to do when you see that person, when you saw that person? Oh, well, we were going to talk. I said, okay, where were you going to talk? He said, well, we were going to go see a movie. I said, see, you have a temple car and you're going to see a movie. That means you are not being protected by Krishna because you are not engaged. You're not engaging yourself in the car in devotional service. So the protection went away and you almost died. And also you had a terrible accident. So if we are serving Krishna, we're protected. And if we're not serving Krishna, we're not going to be protected. It's as simple as that. So we should try and do everything. There's two ways of doing things for Krishna. One is you serve Krishna by the action itself. And the other is you serve Krishna with the fruit of the action. Both ways you're serving Krishna. Okay. So the fruit of the action, it can be money, it can be this or that. So everything should be done for Krishna's service. That is called real karma yoga. And false karma yoga is we do things but we expect some return. We're doing things but we want a return. We want success in this way or that way materially. And that is not pure devotional service. But if we engage in pure devotional service, always offering the result to Krishna, then we're protected. So what's dangerous for us is unwittingly committing sinful acts. And everybody is unwittingly committing sinful acts because they don't realize that. And in fact, the Christians are misleading people big time, and Muslims also. They say that it's okay to eat meat, nothing wrong with it, And the Muslims, the more animals you kill for Eid al-Fitr, right after Ramadan, the more Allah is pleased. Now, both of these things are actually wrong. But they make it right, and people think that the more animals they kill, the more Allah is pleased. Or there's nothing wrong with eating meat. It's not what goes in your mouth that's unclean. They say it's what comes out of your mouth that's unclean. But all of those are false concepts. So Krishna consciousness means that we follow Krishna's instructions and the Acharya's instructions, and that way we become free of the panchasuna, the 5 types of unwitting sins. And therefore, yesam tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva mohanir mukta bhajanti mam jitavataha. Those persons who have acted piously in the past and in the present, and whose sins are completely eradicated. It says completely eradicated, not partially eradicated. They then become eligible to engage in devotional service. 7th chapter, 28th verse. And persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. Just like when we were in India, Adi Dev told me, "Oh Prabhu, today, what's the name of that company that he works for? Expedia is laying off 3,000 people all over the world." He said, "Pray for me that I don't lose my job." I said, "Don't worry, Prabhu. You have to pray. You chant Hare Krishna sincerely, and Krishna will protect you, whether you lose your job or you don't lose your job." "Well, oh no, if I lose my job, then I only have 1 month to find a job, otherwise I have to go back to India." I said, "Prabhu, being in anxiety is not going to help you. It'll just divert your mind from what you really should be doing, which is chanting seriously. So just chant, and just depend on Krishna's mercy. Well, that's all we can do. You know, when Hurricane Katrina came, the American army, which is the strongest army in the world, they couldn't do anything. They just watched the hurricane destroy half or three-quarters of New Orleans, a major American city. You know, they couldn't throw an atomic bomb at the hurricane. It would just make it worse, right? So I said, worrying about this situation is not going to make it better. Just chant sincerely and just depend on Krishna. 4 people in his group were fired. 4 out of 8. But he was not fired. I said, Prabhu, don't think it's over. Chant more. It's never over in corporate culture, you know, because there's no kripa in the corporate culture, you know. So if Krishna is being kind to you, you know, that's your secret. So you just keep chanting, and don't worry, one way or the other, you'll survive. So that's good for all of us, myself also. You know, whenever there's problems, I chant. Whenever there's no problems, I chant more, because if I don't chant more, the problems will come back. Right? So we should all chant. So I learned a lot more things, but we'll talk about that little by little. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.